Hello, everyone. Every month of June, LGBTQIA plus communities from around the world gather together to celebrate Pride. Pero higit pa sa makukulay na parada at protesta, ang Pride Month ay panahon rin para magbalik tanaw kung gaano nakalayo ang naabot natin sa pagtataguyod ng pagkakapantay-pantay sa ating lipunan, na para saan ay patuloy pa rin tayong nakikibaka. But there is still hope. And convincing the Senate to pass the Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity and Expression Equality Bill, more popularly known as the SOGIE Equality Bill, is one of them. Ako po si Naomi Fontanos at sana'y samahan ninyo kami dito sa Beyond Labels, ang mahaba-habang usapan on the SOGIE Equality Bill and what it truly means to be LGBTQIA+ in the Philippines. Joining us to provide valuable insights on this topic, we have Mix Venus Aves, Punong Babaylan of UP Babaylan. Kasama rin natin si Attorney Kenjie Aman, co-founder of the Philippine LGBT Bar, and Rica Salomon, content creator and founder of the Tayo Movement. Hello sa inyong lahat. Okay.
Hello, Miss Naomi. Hello.
Hello.
All the viewers right now.
Okay, simulan natin by breaking down what the SOGIE Equality Bill is all about. Also known as the Anti-Discrimination Bill, it aims to prevent discrimination against people based on their sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. Sometimes we include sex characteristics. So, una, maaari ba ninyong ipaliwanag kung ano ang pagkakaiba ng sexual orientation, sa gender identity, at sa gender expression?
The first thing that we need to know is that SOGIE actually refers to three different concepts: sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. So let's first talk about gender identity. Simply put, it's how you view yourself, whether you are a woman, a man, or another identity. Gender expression, on the other hand, is how you express your gender or how you present yourself. So you can present yourself in a masculine manner, in a feminine way, or in an androgynous way. Now, in terms of gender, aside from women, transgender people are the ones who are being discriminated against. So transgender people are people whose gender identity is different from the gender assigned to them at birth. For example, a transgender woman is a woman who was assigned male at birth. Now, sexual orientation means attraction, our attraction to other people based on their gender. So you don't need to be LGBTQI to have sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. So if you're attracted to a different gender, you are heterosexual or straight. If you're attracted to the same gender, you are lesbian or gay. If you are attracted to one or more gender, you may be bisexual. If you experience little to no attraction, you are asexual. And I think yung pinaka-importante talaga nating malaman ay everyone has SOGIE. So not only LGBTQI people, but cisgender, heterosexual people, everyone, all human beings have SOGIE.
Thank you, Venus. I think that is the most important takeaway from the concept of SOGIE, that it does not only pertain to LGBTQIA plus people, but everyone has SOGIE. All Filipinos have our sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. So, bakit natin kailangan ng SOGIE Equality Bill? Ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng pagiging LGBTQIA plus dito sa Pilipinas?
Kailangan natin ng SOGIE Bill because there are still people who are being discriminated based on their sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. While, yes, we do have certain laws that are existing that can help us, we need laws that specifies exactly that we are trying to eradicate discrimination based on a person's SOGIE.
Kenjie, would you like to add why there's a need for a SOGIE Equality Bill?
Well, yes. So, I guess there are so many people asking, why do we need SOGIE? It's the same thing. It's for the same reason that every marginalized sector of the Philippines need a very comprehensive law to particularly address the very the very issues that are particular to their sector. So, for example, we have the IPRA law for the indigenous people. We also have the Magna Carta for women for women. We have the children's Magna Carta for the children. So I think it's also the same. It applies the same in the same way for LGBT and those people who are discriminated against by reason of their SOGI, because there are specific issues that need specific remedies.
I agree. And many marginalized sectors in our country actually have comprehensive laws that pertain to them, right? So just to add to what Kenji said, even people with disabilities have their own law, right? So if the LGBTQIA plus community is a marginalized sector, then it should follow that a law that will prevent discrimination on the basis of SOGI should be passed as well, right, to protect LGBTQIA Filipinos. Pero lampas 2 dekada na at paulit-ulit na hinahain ang Anti-Discrimination Bill o SOGIE Equality Bill sa Kongreso at sa Senado at hindi ito naisa sa batas. Sa katunayan, noong 2019, it became the longest-running bill under interpellation in the Senate. So, what do you think are the challenges that the SOGIE Equality Bill has faced? And up to now, is it facing those same challenges?
Yeah, I think the main challenge that the SOGIE Equality Bill is facing is the strong opposition in Congress. Diba? While advocates have been lobbying for the SOGIE Equality Bill since 2000, the anti-SOGIE Equality Bill forces are also organizing. Diba? Meron tayong Pride March. They also have counter rallies that are well-funded, that are well-connected and well-organized. So I think na the opposition led by very prominent figures in Philippine politics, it's really the main thing that blocks the passage of the SOGIE Equality Bill. Because aside from organizing among their ranks, they're also encouraging other lawmakers to vote against the bill.
Thank you, Venus. But it's also good to remind people that we have champions on the SOGIE Equality Bill in both houses of Congress, right? Kenji, would you like to add on what challenges this bill has faced?
Well, if I may add, that is correct. I think while it's good that we have champions, but there are more oppositions, or there are more politicians we're having right now who seem to forget that they are in a democratic space. They seem to forget the principle that the essence of democracy is respect for plurality and diversity. And they're being representatives of the people mean voicing out the sentiment of the majority that they are who elected them to represent them, and not to allow their own biases to prejudice or oppress the people that they should be representing. But aside from that, also, what's derailing the passage of the SOGIE bill, which has been languishing in Congress for more than 2 decades already, is probably the misconceptions that that are attached to the SOGIE bill. There are so many misinformation and misconceptions that has demonized the bill, such that many think that it would be prejudicial to the society as a whole.
Okay, so Kenji, you already mentioned misconceptions about the bill, and there are so many of them. So, talakayin natin yan. Do you think that some of those who oppose the SOGIE Equality Bill are only against it because they have been misinformed? And what are the biggest misconceptions about the SOGIE Equality Bill that people should know about?
Right. Well, partly, yes, they have been misinformed. But of course, we cannot discount the fact that they have their biases and they're using any justification they could latch on to justify their refusal to have the bill passed. First and foremost, some were saying that the SOGIE bill is going to be used, the passage of the SOGIE bill is a stepping stone towards the passage of a same-sex marriage bill or something. Well, for one, if you look at the bill, the SOGIE bill, it doesn't contain any provision on marriage or of same-sex marriage. In fact, it just alludes to any form of discrimination that would be committed to anyone, not just the LGBTQIA people, but anyone. by reason of their SOGIE. I also noted also that I remember that there's this one senator who asked, isn't the SOGIE bill redundant, considering that we have already in place several laws that could protect some of the issues being raised by people such as I remember him citing the Safe Spaces Act, particularly the Sexual Harassment Act of 1995, as well as the Anti-Bullying Act, those three laws that we already have. Well, I would like to say that these laws do not sufficiently cover what the SOGIE bill intends to protect. For one, the Sexual Harassment Act of 1995 would protect any person who's being asked of sexual favors by their bosses or by persons who have moral ascendancy over them. This was eventually expanded um, by the Safe Spaces Act of 2019, when the coverage of these sexual harassment acts or these prohibited acts were expanded to those that occur in public spaces, and even to those that are committed not necessarily by people who have moral ascendancy over them, but also by peers or even by people who are their subordinates.
Kenjie, thank you very much. That was quite comprehensive. As you have mentioned, the SOGIE Equality Bill is not redundant, right? I mean, it's really a necessary bill because it doesn't repeat any other law. There's no other law like it, so it's not redundant. At the same time, one important point that Kenjie mentioned is that there is no provision in the SOGIE Equality Bill that will allow marriage equality or same-sex marriage. So we just want to emphasize that. Venus or Rica, would you like to chime in?
The other misconceptions, like you said earlier, a lot of people, especially from my TikTok, would comment about, again, the same-sex marriage thing, and also other stuff like the SOGIE bill can be used against people whose religion is against the LGBT community. And what I want people to understand, I guess, if you read the SOGIE bill, is that you are free to practice and believe in your religion as long as it is within the space of your church. But once you step outside, the SOGIE bill applies na, yung freedom of speech. I think Kenjie can be more comprehensive on this part when it comes to the technicalities of it. Pero basically, we are not stopping people from practicing their religion. Another common misconception would be that they think that kasama na sa SOGIE bill yung allowing trans people to change their gender marker. And it isn't. And I think what the SOGIE bill is solely focusing on is just ending sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression-based discrimination.
Right. Okay. Venus, would you like to add more?
Yeah, I just also want to point out that the anti-equality opposition are not actually misinformed. They are actually the ones who mislead and misinform people. Why? Because advocates like Miss Naomi have been going to Congress for many years now, educating members of Congress about the SOGIE Equality Bill. And they still keep on feeding the same lies, the same misconceptions about the SOGIE Equality Bill. And they're supposed to be our lawmakers who are supposed to know about the law. I think the most important thing that people need to know is that the SOGIE Equality Bill will actually protect all Filipinos. We go back to the nature of SOGIE. Everyone has SOGIE. And now the SOGIE Equality Bill is basically saying na it will prohibit SOGIE-based discrimination. The framing is SOGIE-based discrimination, not anti-LGBTQI discrimination. While LGBTQI people experience disproportionately discrimination, non-LGBTQI people can also experience discrimination. And the bill also makes a distinction between actual and perceived SOGIEs. So for example, if you're a person who applies for a job, then the HR manager assumes that you are a member of the community, but in reality, you're not. Then on the basis of that assumption, they do not hire you. So how do you seek redress under the bill? I mean, you're still protected because you were discriminated against based on your perceived SOGIES, even if you're not a member of the LGBTQI community. So I think if people know that the SOGIE Equality Bill will protect all Filipinos, we will have many, many advocates and allies who will join our fight for the SOGIE Equality Bill.
Thank you for that, Venus. And I do detect that sometimes when we go to Congress, for example, to attend hearings on the anti-discrimination bill or the SOGIE Equality Bill, really, there are a lot of trolls online that spread misinformation or malinformation or disinformation about this bill. And so a lot of people tend to think that the SOGIE Equality Bill gives LGBTQIA plus Filipinos special rights, like it's a kind of special class legislation. And yet they do not make that same argument for other marginalized sectors. For example, if a law is seeking to protect women, they don't say, "Oh no, those women don't deserve those special rights." Automatically, people say, "Yes, we need to protect women's rights." Or if, for example, a law is to be passed to protect indigenous peoples, nobody says, "Oh no, it's giving them special rights." But instead, a lot of people say, "Yes, we need to protect the rights of indigenous peoples." Okay, so just to wrap up this discussion, do you think that the SOGIE Equality Bill gives LGBTQIA plus Filipinos a free pass to bully straight people or those who are not LGBT, and that it will violate the rights of other people?
Well, to me, Naomi, it doesn't. At the end of the day, everyone has SOGI, so everyone is protected. So just because SOGI bill doesn't mean that you will have less rights.
Right. And at the same time, a lot of people also say that why do we need to prioritize SOGI as a national issue, right? I mean, will that make more people gay? Wouldn't that make more Filipinos LGBTQIA plus?
Well, it really makes me laugh because the question seems like homosexuality or sexuality is some sort of an illness that is very transmissible. But if anything, it would make more people gay because it would make it more gay or more themselves actually, because the SOGI bill would assure them that it's okay to be themselves. So probably yes, to a certain extent, there would be more gay, there would be more transgender, there would be more lesbians coming out because of the bill. But that's because the bill would assure them and that they will be protected if they decide to be true to themselves and be them.
I agree with Kenjie. I think I guess it will make a lot of people come out because they finally feel that they have a safe space to, live their truths, diba, without the fear of being discriminated. And I just wanted to say na passing this bill only creates a safer space for everyone to live their truths.
I agree. And we just want to tell everyone that really getting the SOGIE Equality Bill passed into law will not give LGBTQIA plus Filipinos special rights. Instead, it will ensure our equal rights, that we are treated equally in Philippine society as any other Filipino. So, himayin natin itong konsepto ng pagkakapantay-pantay o equality. We keep on saying it's the SOGIE Equality Bill. It promotes equality. So, ano bang ibig sabihin ng pagkakapantay-pantay? What does equality mean under the SOGIE Equality Bill? And Venus, would you like to go first?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to point out that while the SOGIE Equality Bill is named that way, our fight for SOGIE Equality Bill will continue even after the SOGIE Equality Bill is passed. Diba? The SOGIE Equality Bill is an anti-discrimination bill, and even if we prohibit certain forms of discrimination, we still have to legislate, we still have to change certain institutions in order for society to be truly equal. Now, how do I envision SOGIES equal society? It's very simple. Diba? In a SOGIES equal society, no one is dominating against other people on the basis of their SOGIES. No one can harass, exploit, or violate other people on the basis of SOGIES. Gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, these will not be very crucial aspects of human identity because they will not, matter in weighing the worth of people. So that is how I envision a so just equal society, sort of like a queer utopia where everyone can live as themselves and be who they are.
I like what you're saying there, Venus, huh? But it seems so abstract, right? It's like seems like a fantasy world. But let's make it more real for those who are listening in and watching us. So let's talk about actual situations wherein a social equality law would have been a big help to have. So, any personal experiences where you think the SOGIE equality law could have protected you as a member of the LGBTQIA community?
For me, Naomi, one specific experience was there are certain places in Poblacion that did not allow me to enter because I was transgender, and they have a policy now that that they don't allow trans women to dine in their restaurant. And this bill would
Is that?
protect me from being discriminated.
But why will this restaurant or why will these bars not allow trans women in?
Because a lot of their customers are complaining that there are a lot of trans women, and they just want to protect their customers now. And I found it very ridiculous and unfair. And there was also a certain bar that did not allow me at first, but asked me to pay a certain price for them to allow me to enter. Because they consider me now as a cross dresser. So I think what this bill will give us would be protection, and it also recognizes us that we are not second class citizens. These are spaces that we should be allowed to be in. And there are also institutions. I get messages kasi from my followers that where they make kwento na there are certain institutions and schools that would actually threaten them to kick them out or suspend them if they continue to express their sexuality, 'di ba? If they are in a relationship with a same-sex, they're in a same-sex couple. So the SOGI bill protects them from this. So those are specific experiences at the top of my head at the moment.
Actually, just to continue with what Rica said about educational institutions, last year, I think everyone is familiar with a certain school in Visayas that included homosexuality as its grounds for expulsion, as if homosexuality is immoral. And actually, that certain act is an act of discrimination and will be prohibited under a SOGIE equality law. Now, another thing that is very important as well that the SOGIE equality bill will address is discrimination in the workplace. Many workplaces still include SOGIES in deciding who to hire, who to promote, who to assign where. Diba? An example would be a friend of mine who applied for a job. Then the HR manager told her, now we don't accept people like you. Kasi daw, they're applying for a position of a teacher, of a tutor for children. And the HR manager was apparently scared that she would teach, this stuff to kids. Obviously, that HR manager is, hampering their access to employment. So that is an example of employment-based discrimination in the SOGIE Equality Bill. And lastly then, although luckily I don't have a personal experience with this, forced examination or conversion therapy, some versions of the bill prohibit this act because of course, aside from the fact that these so-called psychological treatments are actually torture, they also reinforce the idea that being LGBTQI is a sin, that it's a disease, that it's a sickness, when in fact it's not.
Yeah, just to
Yes.
summarize, the SOGIE Equality Bill will prevent discrimination of
Right?
Filipinos in education, the workplace, public accommodations, and
Yes.
access to services. So, how
Yes.
confident are you that the SOGIE Equality Bill will be passed this time around? And if the bill is passed, what would this mean for the LGBTQIA plus community? And what about for the Philippines as a whole?
Mhm. All right. Well, if I would be very honest, I am not really feeling so confident about it because, as you know, it has been languishing in the Congress for more than 2 decades already. But with how people are responding and are viewing, are listening to us recently, I'm hopeful. I mean, I've mentioned this earlier. I've heard about the story of Rica's father, the story of Rica's, the father of Rica's love for her, the acceptance. And it makes me think that probably there are so many people out there already who have embraced, who have accepted, and who are already sympathetic to our causes. And I really hope that this acceptance, this love coming from cisgendered people too, would translate to pressure, I guess, that would eventually push legislators to, or convince legislator that this law should be passed already, that it is already high time. So I may not be that confident, but I'm really, really hopeful. And this would mean a lot because it would provide recognition to every person discriminated by reason of their SOGI, that we exist and that we have a place in this society.
Thank you, Kenji. Let's just take a question from our audience. There are a lot of people out there who grew up believing that LGBTQIA plus people are wrong. How could you help educate them in the level they are comfortable in? Kenji, would you like to answer?
Your existence is never wrong. You are here because you're supposed to be here. That's what I think it's a teaching that could that applies across all religions, across all beliefs, across all cultures. You are here because you're supposed to be here. So you just live your truth and be unapologetic about it. It may take time, it may take a lot of courage, but just continue being you.
Well, I just want to add, Naomi, that I guess the best way to sort of convince them or to teach them would not be through words, but through action. I feel like the way that we can convince these people is to basically live our lives and show them that we are good people, that we are, there is nothing wrong with us, that we are not a sin. I understand that you grew up thinking this way about us, but I feel like, really the best way is to show people basic respect. At the end of the day, again, we are all humans, and that should be enough reason for us to respect each other.
Thanks, Rika. Venus, do you have a take on this question?
Yeah, same with Rika, because you can't just educate people and go like in your daily life discriminate against LGBTQI people, and that is what a very important part of the bill then is that it has an educational component. But aside from bringing our issues to the mainstream, aside from providing us with a national platform to talk about LGBTQI issues, some versions of the bill actually will invest in SOGIE education, will actually integrate SOGIE in our education system. But even before that, I would also just like to share that there are individual teachers in schools who are actually trying to make do with what they have. For example, teachers have messaged UP Babaylan asking us to help them develop modules for their students. So this really shows that the inaction and incompetence of our lawmakers at the end of the day, even if we have to live with that reality, there will always be advocates and allies who will do our best to fight for our rights.
Very well said. Thanks, Venus. And we'd like to thank our audience member for that question. It's been a great conversation. However, we've reached the end of it. So before we go, let's have some final words from our guests. Let's start with Rika.
My final words of the night is that at the end of the day, we need to learn that there is a marginalized group that has been discriminated for years, and the fights, we have progressed so much as a society, but at the end of the day, there is still a lot of work to be done before we can truly say that we are accepted in this society. Let's start standing up for what is right, and let's not end it with just celebration and acceptance, because at the end of the day, again, there is a lot of work to be done.
Thanks, Rika. Kenji?
I think what is involved here, what we're talking about here, are human rights, or rights that inhere from the fact that we are human beings. So what we're asking for here, the passage of the SOGIE Equality Bill, is not special rights for for a certain group of people or for all people, but merely a recognition of rights that are already in there, that are being experienced and enjoyed by some, but not by some. So what we want is equality for all, so that everybody is happy and everybody just gets to enjoy what they should be enjoying. So that's just it. Love for everyone.
Thanks, Kenjie. And Venus?
Yeah, I would like specifically to address non-LGBTQI people, people outside our community. I hope that you realize na this fight includes you. The SOGIE Equality Bill will protect everyone. So let's show everyone, let's show the nation, let's show our leaders that everyone, regardless if they're LGBTQ or not, QI or not, really want to have a SOGIE equality law. And as Attorney Kenji said, we're not demanding extra rights. We're not demanding special treatment. We're just asking for human rights and equality. After all, what's so special about the right to go to school, the right to get a job, no? The right to access certain public spaces, the right to be you, and the right to do anything you want without being discriminated against. Diba? Those are not special rights. Those are just basic human rights that have been denied from us for so long. So I hope that you join our fight to change that.
Maraming salamat. Maaari ngang malayo pa ang lalakbayin ng SOGIE Equality Bill o ng Anti-Discrimination Bill. Maisabatas man ito o hindi, malinaw na patuloy ang pagkataguyod para sa karapatang pantao at katarungang panlipunan anuman ang iyong sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. In the end, what the SOGIE Equality Bill wants to do is to create a more humane and just Philippine society. Muli, ako po si Naomi Fontanos. Maraming salamat sa ating mga panauhin, si Venus, Kenjie, and Rica, at sa ating mga tagapakinig at manonood sa pagsama ninyo dito sa Beyond Labels, ang mahaba-habang usapan on the SOGIE Equality Bill and what it truly means to be LGBTQIA+ in the Philippines. Happy Pride at mabuhay!